IPMNation.com.
A quick shout out to everyone here on IPMNation.com. We're getting ready to go over on Facebook Live. Thank you so very much for joining us. Here we go. Welcome and thank you for stopping by the #1 rated show on IPMNation.com. You're in to the episode 251 of All Natural Being, the Gong Heard. Thank you very much. The Gong Heard round the world. Live here, as I say, on IPMNation.com and Facebook for the Fly on the Wall video with rebroadcast on iTunes and iHeartRadio. Greetings wherever you are here in the Garden of the Mortals. Broadcast as it happens from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, where we're always putting your heart's highest priority top of the list, placing your primal scream front and center in your life, where I think it belongs. Well, I think it's time to reboot your robust, to find your ferocious, to out-brutal the brutal that is the cut and shuffle that fate deals you on a daily basis, and to bring your own bold once and for all, because it's really the only insurance you have when it comes to facing an uncertain future. But before we hit that today, hello to my friends here in the United States and Canada, Mexico, the UK, my good friends in Ecuador, China, the Philippines, Brazil, India, Australia, Germany, Italy, France, Turkey, Japan, Singapore, Sweden, Israel, South Africa, Puerto Rico, Kenya, the Netherlands, to those joining us from all over the globe. It's great to have you with us. And I truly am fired up today to be driving your bandwagon, to be your biggest fan, to be avidly you. So what do you say? As always, we're just surfing your psychology to see if it fits you the way it should, the way you deserve it to. It's time to mortal up. So let's go kick in some doors. And speaking about mortal up, thank you everyone for the comments and the tweets and the Facebook shares about our show yesterday. Excuse me. You know, when we have Mortal Up Mondays, it's kind of like my day to vent, kind of like that my day to get it all out about, you know, social justice psychopaths and the sickness that they spread, right? It's my day to talk about a little bit of brawling with Brawdy, I think that was Janelle's term, a little bit of brawling with Brawdy, just so that, you know, I can kind of get it out and have a little space in my mind to get through the rest of the week, right? And then when you do, have you ever noticed this? When you start thinking about something, and you talk about it, or you tell your friends, or you tell your family, or your loved ones, or the like, and then all of a sudden, it just starts materializing, just starts popping up whenever you look. That's kind of the thing about Mortal Up. When I talked yesterday about hate speech, and how much more hateful can speech be than to someone that wants to cobble your mind, someone that wants to chop block your brain, right? They want to be able to play you like a sock puppet. How much more hateful can that be? Where they're not confident in your ability to run your own mind, so they say, oh, don't worry, I'll drive the bus. What was that old go Greyhound and leave the driving to us? Well, there's all kinds of people that want your minds to go Greyhound. They go, oh, no, you leave the driving to us. We'll give you your opinions. We'll give you your sense of self. We'll give you, we'll tell you, we're smarter than you, so we'll be able to tell you how this all fits together, right? We'll be able to tell you, because we're into social justice. We're into leveling the playing field. We want to make sure that you're taken care of, little Miss Fragile, little Mr. Timid, right? We want to make sure, right? We want to lower ourselves and provide social justice because, let's be honest, you can't do it for yourself. And then, it's just a cascading effect. All the different examples you see of social justice and just all the craziness, all the mashugana. So it's kind of nice on a Tuesday morning to have Monday behind me, right? So the Mammal Up Mondays just kind of have a little bit of it under my belt so that we can get on to focusing on putting your heart's highest priority top of your list. And I thought about it today, right? What is it that we can do specifically? And you've heard me say before, talk about IBS, irritable brain syndrome, right? Where everything coming in, it's got a certain bent to it. It's got a certain slant. So when it comes in, you're just like, oh man, I can't do this, right? Well, there's another illness, if you will, called overactive hearing. And overactive hearing, as you probably have figured out by now, here's my thing. Why let the periphery interrupt your peace of mind? Why let the critic spew? Why let the drool of others in to ricochet around in your minds? Now, I know you're thinking to yourself, well, Bri, opinions of other people are important. No, they're not. Not really. Think about it. Not in the context what we're talking about, right? Putting your heart's highest priority top of your list. Now, as I said yesterday, I think I said that to Henry, if your heart's highest priority is to learn to run in traffic with scissors, I don't think that's your heart's highest priority, right? So the people that say, oh, I'm going to do it for your own good. I'll make sure that I'll make sure to protect you. Right? And I got into this little thing over on Twitter, things I object to. And I just said this morning, things I object to, overactive hearing. Letting those interruptions, those peripheral interruptions, in to ruin your peace of mind. So how do we develop a deadbolt against the drool of others? How can we cultivate selective hearing? I don't know if you've ever done this before. I suspect you have. But, I was sitting yesterday afternoon and somebody saying something to me, and there's like 800 other things going on, and I'm like, something fell over in the corner, and I kind of like turned to hear what it was that had fallen, and, for a moment my attention was kind of there, and then I heard the other person go, "Are you listening to me?" I didn't have a clue what they were saying. I'm like, oh, of course I'm. No, I'm not listening. No, I'm not. I didn't hear a word. Not a word of it. And they were all like, well, I can't believe it. So what it made me think in a second, that we have directional hearing, right? We have selective hearing. And I can tell you, if you do any of the studies from science, and I've done a few as of late, especially having the brain tumor take all the nerve endings in my tongue so I can't taste food anymore, right? What they say is it doesn't make other senses in your brain stronger. It just means that because the brain, in terms of neuroplasticity, right, in terms of the brain being able to rewire itself based on incoming information. Well, it's not getting any more information from my tongue and the way food tastes. Right? So it frees up the brain to be able to put a little energy into some of the other senses. And then it made me think, why couldn't we do that all the time, selective hearing? When we've got people that are like, oh, you're not strong enough, you're not smart enough, you're not fast enough, oh, you're not good looking enough, all these other reasons that you're not able to place your primal scream. Primal? Or primal is one, primal is another, to play. You know what? I'm going to need a little sip here real quick. To place a primal scream front and center in your life. My question is to you, why not? When it comes to all the din and clatter, when it comes to all the peripheral interruptions, why can't you and I have selective hearing? Right? Clearly, at some point, I selected to hear the piece of painted pottery, a dish, artwork, whatever it is, a platter, a food platter. It was up on the, like a console of a hutch, I guess it's called, a curio cabinet, I guess you could say, right? So I selected, right, to hear that thing fall, and I selected not to hear the conversation that I was enveloped in. So why couldn't you and I do that when it comes to critics' view? Why couldn't we cultivate a deadbolt against the drool of others? If selective hearing is something that we have, and if you think about it, your hearing, a lot like your eyesight in some ways, right? When you hear something, you turn towards it. Obviously you want to incorporate your eyes into getting as much information as you can, but you also ever hear yourself go like this, lean in, right? Trying to hear something. Why couldn't you and I have selective hearing? So when it comes to all of our critics, when it comes to everyone trying to keep you in place, when it comes to all the social justice psychopaths spreading their sickness, why couldn't we just say, I'm not going to let you hobble a human mind? And then we can go on about our day. Selective hearing. I don't know if it's getting enough press, but I'm digging the idea of, as I say, this deadbolt against the decisions of all these other people, right? All the marketplace that wants to sell you your sense of self, that wants to sell you your self-esteem. We could develop a deadbolt for that. We could just say, no, I'm going to turn my ears off. I'm not going to listen to all these critics. I'm not going to listen to all the different reasons why this shouldn't work in my life. And then I guess we could move in an interior way, and we could say, well, look, what if I learned selective hearing for my own troll? All right, I know. Everyone mentioned yesterday, troll alert, troll alert, troll alert, right? What if I learn some selective hearing for my own inner troll? I don't know, what do you think? Maybe I should move that amber light a little more to the center. I think maybe I'll do that. Troll alert, troll alert. So what if you and I develop a deadbolt against our own drool, right? What if we develop a way to go, yeah, you know what? I'm pretty much done selling myself short. I'm pretty much done buying into my own mashugana. What is it that I want to do? What is my heart's highest priority? And how specifically can I place my primal scream front and center in my life? And if we have selective hearing, right, much the same as I turned away yesterday to see the platter falling and hitting the ground, what if you went, oh, okay, well, if I turn my selective hearing towards that still small voice in me that wants me to put my heart's highest priority top of the list, maybe selective hearing works that way as well. Why couldn't you and I decide, okay, great, here's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to listen to that still small voice. I'm going to listen to that little whisper. I'm going to give it the attention it deserves. All right, so I think you get where I'm going with this selective hearing thing. But I just think it's fantastic. Now, I know that there's some people, you talk to creative people that say, oh, no, well, I need to be able to, some people like to listen to music before they create. Some people like to, some people like the din and clatter, the distraction. But I'm just saying, every so often, maybe we can have selective hearing. Maybe we can just tune out the outer critic and the inner critic. And maybe use that selective hearing, right? Maybe use the fact that now I've freed up a little because I'm not going to listen to this drool. I've got a deadbolt, right? I'm not going to listen to this drool. It frees up a little bit of my bandwidth to go after what my heart's talking about. All right, let me say hello to everyone here in the thread. Henry, good morning. Great job yesterday. I can't wait for you all to hear when we go to the 24-hour format. Henry's been doing just some powerful, powerful writing and recording, and we're soon going to incorporate it here in All Natural Being. He's going to have a little, let's call it a 4-minute segment, a little segment here in All Natural Being, and then just some really powerful writing. So, Henry, thank you so very much for sharing that with me yesterday, and I'm really excited about having that incorporated into the show. Good morning, Loretta. It's nice to see you. I hope all is well. Janelle, good morning. Thank you for the picture yesterday, Janelle. I have to tell you, I was a little bummed. Hey, Sarah. Tell everyone I said hello. Hope Bart and Colton are doing great. I saw here on Facebook that you had a big celebration over the weekend. Congratulations. That looked really wild. Want to say hello to Kelly as well. Oh, and Janelle, I don't want to forget. Kelly Coleman Albright, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sending me the picture. Lethal Weapon, they got rid of Martin Riggs, the actor that plays Martin Riggs. And I was like, oh, well, then maybe I'll just apply. Maybe I could go to be that half-crazed cop that's a partner with Murtaugh. But, I saw yesterday, Janelle sent me the picture. They already went ahead and found an actor to do it. So, well, I was going to try, but no, I wasn't going to try. So in any event, thank you, Janelle, for the picture very much. And good morning. We're kicking around. If anyone has an example, thanks. It was a great day. It looked great. It really did. Nice to see that Father John was there as well. So it was it looked like a great day. All right, so we're talking this morning about selective hearing. We're talking this morning about, well, one, I guess the opposite is overactive hearing, where we're just, what is the term? Loaded for bear, right? Where we're ready to find insults, when we're ready to find outrage, when we're ready just to find things that we will not tolerate, like this post over on Twitter this morning, things that I object to. I have to be honest with you, my first inclination was, well, if you object, why not just keep it to yourself? right? As as Dr. Kell, if she's listening, she says she loves it when I go, oh, fun fact. Oh, I just don't care. Right? Fun fact. Oh, I don't care that you're not drinking the Kool-Aid. Right? Because I don't remember offering you any Kool-Aid. So we're talking about overactive hearing this morning. And our need from time to time to give our ears some time off. Send them to a timeout. Let them take the day. And then maybe we're so tuned to this overactive hearing. We're so tuned to listening to the opinions of others that we don't get a chance to hear that still small voice. We don't get a chance to hear that whisper. And you talk about cognitive strain. You talk about the cognitive strain of constantly being worried about the opinions of other people, constantly being worried, is a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Is this going to work? Is it not going to work? Am I going to get a like or a tweet or this or that? And then we have to ask ourselves, what happens in that moment if we take that worry and we take that stress and we take that energy, which, and again, is just bandwidth. We take that bandwidth and we donate it to the critics. We donate our abilities to the crowd. What happens then? So let me ask you, what specifically could you do today, right now, for the next 20 minutes, to put your heart's highest priority top of your list? What would you do? Henry might say that he's going to sit down and write some more. Sarah, what would you do? Kelly, what would you do? Janelle, Loretta, what would you do to put your heart's highest priority top of your list? And maybe the first thing that we can start to do is talk about permission, giving ourselves permission to place the primal scream front and center in our lives. And I think a lot about these people that want to remove your permission to use your mind the way you intend. Think about it. When someone says they're outraged, when outrage is the new black. When someone says they're infuriated, insulted, I saw a video the other day where she says that your opinion just makes me sick. I'd check your plumbing, right? Well, I think you might have some gastro issues. Good morning, Rita. Good morning, Janice. Nice to see you. We're talking about overactive hearing. Technically, we're talking about irritable brain syndrome, right? All the bloating, right? Binge thinking, all the different things that go into making a mind just packed with cognitive cellulite. And then a byproduct of that, overactive hearing, where our ears are constantly tuned to everything that's going on around us, where our ears are constantly tuned to the committee vote and not to the still small voice, that whisper that sits at our core. And I was just asking people, Janice and Rita, what would you do to put your heart's highest priority top of your list today? If for just a moment you decided that you deserve to have that smile. We did a thing last night for our, each night we do the Good Night Soundbite for Launch Team listeners. And I write them usually. I'm sitting. I have my inhalation unit. It's called the Harmony unit. I have my inhalation unit that I use from tryh2.com. And this whole study of molecular hydrogen has been really cool to me. But I have a hydrogen. It produces molecular hydrogen, and I'm able to sit and write. And one of the things that I wrote last evening, I should mention tryh2.com. If you haven't had a chance, check them out. It's really, in terms of the headaches, in terms of helping my body heal, in terms of over 500 different studies, 150 different disease models, how doctors and scientists and people in the know are now like, oh, wow, molecular hydrogen, it does a really good job of getting in there. And it's the antioxidant. And I sit and I write, and I have the Harmony unit from tryh2.com, and I'm able to inhale molecular hydrogen, and it helps, right? Keeping with what my neurosurgeon said, look, you're going to need all hands on deck when it comes to beating this hole in your head. Oh, be that were true. But in any event, tryh2.com. So I start in the mornings with 30 minutes while I'm writing here, and in the evenings. And when I do the Good Night Soundbite, last night we had one that just said smile. It's free therapy. So if you put your heart's highest priority top of your list, it's free therapy. Because it's going to pull that smile to your face. So again, I ask, even if it's just for 20 minutes, 1/72nd of your day, if you were going to ignore all the peripheral interruptions, if you were going to ignore all of that, and all you were going to do was for just 20 minutes, 1/72nd, you have 71 chunks of left of your day where you can go ahead, right? No sense throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as we say. Thank you, Rita. Good morning to you as well. Just make it happen. I like that. Just make it happen. Taking responsibility. Just making it happen. Don't be subject to the winds of change. Right? We've said before, in terms of being targeted by fate, the cut and shuffle that you're dealt every day in life. But the most successful people, here's the thing. If you look at any of these videos, if you read any of the books, you listen to any of the audios, you do any of these other things, you have to admit that the most successful people do one thing. They out-brutal the brutal. Every day, in every situation, or at least in a multitude of situations where things might not be going. As Janice says, just make it happen. And then fate goes, oh, yeah, well, let me throw you this. Where's my wrench? Right? You ever have that happen where you're in the process of going, oh, yeah, just make it happen. And then fate throws a wrench, and now that's a wrench. It takes two hands to lift this thing. That's a wrench. Ever have it to where you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to make it happen. And then fate throws a wrench in your plan? Well, the most successful people are the ones that learn, I better lock that down. That thing will fall and take me out. All of a sudden you'll be going, I don't know what happened. Brian was on camera, and then all of a sudden he just dropped. Well, yeah, the wrench fell, took him out, right? You ever have fate throw a wrench into your plans? Well, the most successful people are busy out-brutaling the brutal. So what could you do today? You put your heart's highest priority top of your list. You're placing your primal scream front and center in your life, and here comes fate. Cut and shuffle, here's a wrench. No charge. What can you do to out-brutal the brutal? And I said in the opening, that's the greatest insurance policy. Because, now that it's this time of year, thankfully, here in Columbus, Ohio, it actually got to 80 degrees yesterday. I didn't even know what to do with myself. But this time of year coming up where hurricanes and tornadoes and inclement weather and brownouts and blackouts and all these other things are going on, right? You and I are going to be forced in terms of dealing with Mother Nature. We might be forced to out-brutal the brutal. So here we are. We're going, oh, yeah, we're going to put my heart's highest priority. Nice wrench there. I know, Sarah, right? That's a wrench. That's a wrench. You know what else I got that's here, too? Sarah, since you like that? That's a sledgehammer. Look at that thing. Not the biggest one I have, right? But that's a sledgehammer, all right. So what are you going to do? When fate brings a sledgehammer, and this will be the next thing, you'll be going, oh, I don't know, Brian was on screen, all of a sudden he was swinging a sledgehammer around, and then he was gone. And I'm hoping Henry will text me and go, are you okay? What happened? You hit yourself with a sledgehammer. Right? But what happens? We're busy putting our heart's highest priority, top of the list, placing our primal scream front and center in our lives. Fate comes, sledgehammer. Well, the most successful people, and that's why I call it an insurance policy for the future. Thank you, Sarah, very much. I can't help but laugh. She goes, nice wrench there. I know. Yeah. Right? Nothing but the best props here at All Natural Being. Right? But what are you going to do? Cut and shuffle of fate deals you a sledgehammer, deals you a wrench. I guess I could have a fly in the ointment, right? Right? But it deals you. What are you going to do? You're going to out-brutal the brutal. And that's the key. That's what the most successful people, they out-brutal the brutal. Henry says, all we can do is understand why people act and say what they do. Responsibility to others is lacking, and responsibility to self is non-existent. I would absolutely agree. And, someone said the other day, well, Brian, when you do the brawling with Brawdy, when you say social justice psychopaths and the sickness that they spread, heavy tools, heavy injuries. I know, Henry, right? That's right. This show should come with a warning, not for you, but for me. Look, the performing this show could be hazardous for Brian. So, yeah, I got everything locked down now, I think. Yeah, I think I'm good. Yeah, which is why I don't bring fireworks onto the set. I don't even know. All right? So all I'm simply saying is, you're going to put your heart's highest priority top of your list. Fate's going to do what it can to throw a wrench, to throw a sledgehammer. So the key to a successful future is to be able to out-brutal the brutal, to go, look, no matter what is thrown at me, I'm going to be able to handle it. And when these people are busy talking about, they lack in a personal responsibility, and they want you to lack in that same personal responsibility, as Henry was saying. And I started to say that someone last week said, "Oh, you know what? Don't you feel a little compassion for them?" I absolutely feel compassion for them. It's got to be horrible going through life. It just has to be. To suffer from ED, right? Emotional delusion. To suffer from that, it's got to be just horrible. To have irritable brain syndrome, it's got to be horrible. To have overactive hearing, it's a tough gig, I would imagine. And then to throw onto that, trying to influence how other people use their minds when you haven't figured out how to use your own. That's the hypocrisy. You want to talk about the definition of narcissism? How narcissistic to believe that you have the right to tell another person what they should think, what they should do, what they should believe, how they should act, and you maybe have not figured out how to run your own mind. Because if you did, outside the egoic need to constantly be influencing other people, you'd go, you know what? It's a full-time gig just influencing myself. It's a full-time gig wanting to be compassionate. It's a full-time gig just being me. But the cool thing about that is it gives other people around you the permission to be themselves. And again, as Henry and I were talking about, not the egoic self, not the self that could be harmful to other people, not the self that's going to buy into all the critic spew, right? But I'm talking about that part of you that's going to put a deadbolt up to that drool and go, no, for just 20 minutes. And here's why I keep harking. You're talking about politicians. Hey, John, nice to see you. Well, John, I don't want to get into a political thing here, but I've said often that politicians are politicians because they can't get a real gig, right? And all I'm suggesting is that when it comes to you and I, as Henry says, we spend so much time telling others what to do, we don't take time to listen to ourselves. And I think that's the overactive hearing. And I'm beginning to think, John and Henry and Janice and Rita and Sarah and Janelle, I'm beginning to think, Kelly, if you're still with me, Loretta, I'm beginning to think that misery loves company. So, because they don't even listen to themselves when it comes to what their heart's highest priority is, they're going to make damn sure you don't listen to your heart's highest priority because misery loves company. Rita says, don't let others should on you and do not should on yourself. Absolutely. And what was it? Nietzsche said that the dragon, and I'm butchering this, but ballpark, the dragon that guards the treasure in the cave is covered in scales, and on all those scales are written the words, thou shalt. Now you have your biggies, right? You have the Ten Commandments. You have an attempt to make sure that people are being cool to other people, and I've always, and it's probably not beginning to think dangerous. Absolutely. Absolutely, Henry. So I don't want to get into that now because we're at the bottom of the hour and we're going to stick until we go to our hour format. I'm trying to stick to the 30 minutes at the bottom of the hour. So let me just say this. Let's focus today on our overactive hearing to the degree that we contribute to that. Let's just say that we're not going to let the peripheral interruptions ruin our peace of mind. And instead of giving away pieces of our mind in an attempt to get peace of mind, which is never going to happen, What if we decide to practice a little bit of selective hearing and listen just for 20 minutes to our heart's highest priority? That still small voice, that tiny whisper. And what would it say to you? If you could clear away all the din and clatter, what would that still small voice say to you? Thank you so very much for joining us here at All Natural Being. It's an absolute pleasure. If you're listening on IPMNation.com, I love riding shotgun. Here, Fly on the Wall cameras, if you're here at Facebook, thank you so very much for joining us. Thank you for participating in the thread. It really is a pleasure to get up and hang out every day with you. We'll be back bright and early tomorrow morning, but for today, as you're leaving, let's let other people be subject to overactive hearing. You and I, let's just turn it off, so that we can clear the path, we can make way for that still small voice. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow.
IPMNation.com.